Hello, class. My name is Oscar Alvarado, and today I will be discussing with you the drug methoxetamine, or MXE. Some other names that it may be known under are MCET, Kmax, and Mexi. Methoxetamine falls under a class of drugs called aryl cyclohexylamines. This class of drugs also has the drugs ketamine and PCP under its name. Um, what it's known for this class of drugs is that they are mostly what is called dissociative drugs, which means that have have certain feelings that accompany them, which is feelings of loneliness or being separated from your body or just the world in general. Um, and um, and yeah, um, some people MXE, there's very limited information on it because it is a new drug. It's also what's called a designer drug, so it's just one of those newer drugs that there isn't much research done on them because of how new it is. Um, but from what users describe it, is it very similar to ketamine. It has very similar compounds and like structures when it comes to its um its chemical structure. Um, it's also reported to have more intense effects and longer lasting effects at that. Um, Obviously, MXC affects your brain. It affects your dopamine neurotransmitters. It has a great affinity for it, which has been found through research. And it's also is what was called a NMDA receptor antagonist. And its appearance can vary. 9 times out of 10, it comes in a powder, whether it's white, beige, off-white, or yellow. But it's normally sold as a powder and could be taken through orally or through the nose. It could be snorted as well. It really depends on the person. Um, The history of MXC, it's a very new history, and it's also a very shaky history. There's not a lot of information on how it was invented or how it came about either, but it was first reported to be found and sold in 2010. Um, from what I found, um, it was mostly sold online through the internet. That's also how it was discovered. It was through different kinds of forums and chat rooms. And the reason why it gained so much popularity was because it was marketed as a legal high. It was a legal drug that people were going crazy for. And another thing that attracted users was its similarity to ketamine. And another thing that was used to market it was saying that it was bladder friendly, which there is no research that defends that claim. So it's a very loose claim and shouldn't be taken seriously. But um, but yeah, MXC was first identified in the UK back in November of 2010 and was first reported in the US in the spring of 2012. Again, the origin of MXC is a bit shaky, but there was a interview in 2011 that Vice did with a scientist that was using the name M. Um, M had claimed to had been the inventor of MXC, and the way he went about inventing it was he just was experimenting with different drugs, and he came about MXC, and he also believed in trying every drug that he was able to come up with. And so he did, and he ended up going to ended up being hospitalized because it wasn't just MXC that he took. He also had had taken other drugs with it. During this time, he claims that his girlfriend at the time had taken the MXC that he had and just left with it. And after that, it was just began showing up everywhere. And its initial purpose for the initial purpose for MXC was for it to be more of a safer alternative to ketamine, which doesn't seem to be the case too much, but that is what it was initially made for. Um, the effects can vary from person to person. It really depends on a person's weight, person's height, and also a person's tolerance to drugs. Um, s- Effects from small doses could last up to 7 hours, and some of those effects can be feelings of feeling relaxed. You could also have feelings of euphoria, which means that you have these feelings of being happy, just great happiness. You also can feel empathy. You also, it's reported to have heightened sensory as an effect, disassociation, because again, it's a dissociative drug. Vivid hallucinations are also an effect that's accompanied with MXE. Introspection is also something that I saw is that is an effect, which means that it leads you to have deeper thinking and kind of deeper examination of your own mind. Some adverse effects that with MXC are agitation, confusion, dizziness, increased heart rate, nausea, paranoia, and vomiting. And also, like ketamine, it could cause liver damage. And also with these effects, the short-term effects at least, they are reported to begin within about 30 minutes. But again, it does depend on your things of that nature. Some long-term effects that could happen due to the use of methoxetamine are cardiovascular problems, respiratory damage, increased risk of injury because of the drug's high, speech difficulties, memory loss, panic attacks, depression, and some other effects that can come not because of the drug directly, but through withdrawal from the effect is depression, impaired cognition, difficulty sleeping, and suicidal thoughts as well. Um, Again, MXC is known to be more potent and longer lasting than ketamine. And it takes about 5 to 90 minutes to feel affected, which is kind of a downfall also with the drug because since it can take so long for someone to feel the effects of the drug, it usually leads to people believing they didn't take enough of the drug, which ultimately leads to overdoses. Again, this drug can be taken orally or it can be snorted. Orally, it's reported it takes about 15 to 45 minutes for the drug to take effect, and snorted only is reported to take just a few minutes, and the effects could last up to 7 hours. And yeah, that is my presentation on methoxetamine. Thank you.